Hello everyone, welcome in. We are 3 days away from the NFL draft, and today I felt like we should do something different, and that is a round 2 only mock draft for this year. Now, we've already done plenty of first round mock drafts. This one is going to coincide with the most recent first round mock draft, so if you missed that, click through to the channel, go to the NFL Draft 2021 playlist. You will find that at the very end. It was version 4, if I believe correctly. Basically, just look for this video and then watch the one that's right before that. That will give you all of the trades, all of the first round picks that we did for all 32 picks in that first round. So some of this, and I'll try to explain it as I go along, isn't going to make sense if you don't watch that video, because there were some trades that happened in the first round. Teams traded back. They acquired second round picks, i.e. Minnesota Vikings. So if you haven't seen that, I do recommend going to watch that first, then come back to this video, and you could actually just watch them in the playlist because they'll be there together. So without further ado, let's begin the second round of the mock draft. This is once again done using PFF's mock draft simulator, and I tried to be as fair as possible to every team. So if you're a fan of another team that just happens to stumble across this video and I get it horrendously wrong, number one, I'm sorry. And number two, obviously we can have a discussion in the comments about who you would rather have and what your team is more likely to do on the opening round of day 2. So without further ado, let's get into it. And we're going to do this format a little bit differently. Instead of just giving you pick by pick, I'm going to do them in groups of 8 so we can try to move this along a little bit faster. So the first group of 8 is on the screen. Jacksonville opens the second round with Pat Freiermuth at 33 overall. New York Jets take Zaven Collins, the linebacker from Tulsa, at 34. Atlanta Falcons take Carlos Basham, the edge rusher from Wake Forest, at 35. Miami dips into the running back pool for the first time in this draft. They take Najee Harris from Alabama at 36. Buffalo, who traded out of the first round, this is their first round pick. They take Ifedi Melifonwu, yeah, I got that right. Corner from Syracuse. It's like I've been saying it and rehearsing it all the time, and then the first time I stumble on it is when I'm recording. So they take Melifonwu, the quarterback from Syracuse, at 37. The Bengals are up next at 38. They take Terrace Marshall, the wide receiver from LSU. The first trade happens here where Detroit trades up. They're going to take Elijah Moore, wide receiver from Mississippi. And then Denver takes Walker Little, offensive tackle from Stanford, with the 40th pick. So that's the first 8. Jacksonville opens the first 3 picks of their draft with Trevor Lawrence, Trayvon Moehrig, and now Pat Freiermuth. So they're looking pretty good. Zaven Collins, I think, is a huge steal at 34. He's probably destined to go in the first round. Atlanta opened with Kyle Pitts at pick number 4. They get Carlos Basham here to help the defensive line. The first running back off the board, I feel like if it's going to happen, this feels like the right time. And then as far as the rest of the picks go, Terrace Marshall is an interesting, steal for the Bengals, because I didn't pigeonhole myself into wide receiver with the first overall pick. I ended up taking Penei Sewell in the first round with the Bengals, so they were able to wait on a wide receiver. They get a really good one, and Terrace Marshall, reunite him with Joe Burrow. I don't know if they played together or not. I'll have to look into that. Somebody can let me know. And then I had Detroit trading up for Elijah Moore because I felt like I needed to get ahead of some other teams that might take wide receiver. Wide receiver room is not very good for them. They ended up trading back in the first round, taking an edge rusher in Azeez Ojulari. So that's why we went with Elijah Moore here. All right, let's go on to the second group of 8. First, we have Carolina taking Eric Stokes, cornerback from Georgia, at 41 overall. They took Rashawn Slater in the first round. New York Giants take Dylan Radins, offensive tackle from North Dakota State, at 42. San Francisco takes Rondale Moore, wide receiver from Purdue, at 43. Dallas takes Joe Tryon, the edge rusher from Washington. I feel like that's a hell of a steal, at 44. Jacksonville's back on the board again. Alex Leatherwood, offensive tackle from Alabama, 45. Kellen Mond is the second-round quarterback off the board from Texas A&M. He goes to New England at 46. Jackson Carman from Clemson, the offensive tackle, goes to the LA Chargers. And Las Vegas closes out this group of 8 with Nick Bolton, the linebacker from Missouri. So just to quickly explain all of these picks, Eric Stokes is, I feel like at this point in the draft, this is probably where he goes, somewhere between 40 and 45. Carolina took Rashawn Slater in the first round, so they get a corner here for their defense. Giants stay in the trenches. Their first round pick was Kwity Paye. Here they're going to take an offensive tackle. San Francisco taking Rondale Moore. That's just for fun. I know they have a ton of wide receivers. I know they utilize them all very well. But I couldn't pass up the opportunity to put Rondale Moore in this offense and just make it ridiculous and electric. And good luck figuring out who the hell you're going to cover when they're in a spread passing play. So I felt like that was just too fun to pass up. Dallas taking Joe Tryon. I feel like that's a steal. I've already mentioned that. Jacksonville now has Lawrence Moehrig, Pat Freiermuth, and Alex Leatherwood. Kellen Mond, I don't know if this is a consolation prize for New England. They took Jalen Waddle in the first round of my most recent mock draft. So, but even overall, still, I think Kellen Mond is a decent prospect quarterback to sit behind Cam Newton for a year. And then I think the most interesting one for me is Las Vegas with Nick Bolton. Corey Littleton who, basically, right? So this is a good spot for Nick Bolton to come off the board. Next group of 8, we open with Arizona trading to Tennessee. And Tennessee is going to take Peyton Turner, the edge rusher from Houston. Tennessee went wide receiver in the first round with Rashad Bateman, so this makes a ton of sense for me. Miami takes Landon Dickerson at 50 overall, the center from Alabama. You're going to notice a run on centers here. Keep in mind that all of these centers are drafted with the mindset that they're going to switch to guard. So just a little thing to pay attention to. And next we have Detroit taking Jamin Davis. His slide stops, linebacker from Kentucky at 51. 52, Chicago takes Diami Brown, wide receiver from North Carolina. 53, Arizona takes Alan McNeil, defensive tackle from NC State. Minnesota is up with their second-round pick. They take Creed Humphrey, the interior offensive lineman from Oklahoma. And Pittsburgh is at 55. Travis Etienne, the second running back off the board, running back from Clemson. And Seattle takes Quinn Miners, the interior offensive lineman from Wisconsin Whitewater. So this group of 8, Tennessee trading up to get Peyton Turner, I think makes sense to me. Get an edge rusher opposite of Harold Landry. Landon Dickerson is just I know it's kind of a silly spot because they don't need a center, but remember, moving inside to play guard, and I basically just made Miami the Miami Crimson Tide at this point with Najee Harris joining Tua Tagovailoa and now Landon Dickerson joining the party. Jamin Davis, I feel like is a great fit for Detroit and the Dan Campbell defense. So he joins Azeez Ojulari on that defense now. Chicago takes Diami Brown. They went with Mac Jones in the first round. I feel like they're going to need some help at wide receiver eventually. They're looking to trade Anthony Miller. Allen Robinson's not going to stay around for very long. Arizona gets better in the interior defensive line. And then we have Minnesota finally taking a guard who I think is probably one of the best guards you could get in the second round, not named Wyatt Davis. So Creed Humphrey to me is a guy that I've been watching for many years. And I think he'd be a great fit and he'd slide right in very nicely to left guard. Pittsburgh gets the running back in the second round. They went Elijah Vera Tucker in the first. And then Seattle taking Quinn Miners. I don't have an explanation for this other than it feels like a Seattle draft pick. Somebody from, not an FBS school, and it's not exactly the flashiest pick. It just feels like something that they would do. So moving on to the final 8 at 57, we have the Rams with their first pick, taking Elijah Molden, safety from Washington. That's a hell of a slide. Kansas City comes in next. Their first pick of the draft after trading out of the first round with the Ravens to get Orlando Brown Jr. They're going to take Ronnie Perkins, the edge from Oklahoma, at 58. Cleveland's back on the board with Jabril Cox, linebacker from LSU, at 59. Las Vegas takes Wyatt Davis, the guard from Ohio State, at 60. 61 is Buffalo. They take Joseph Asai, the edge rusher from Texas. Green Bay at 62 takes Brady Christensen, the offensive tackle from BYU. Kansas City has a second round pick at 63. They take Jevon Holland, the safety converted to corner from Oregon. And 64, Tampa Bay rounds out the second round with Aaron Robinson, another corner from UCF. So for this part of the second round, Elijah Molden falling all the way to 57 is quite a statement because it's not something that I did intentionally. This is just me trying to find fits for teams, and I don't feel like a lot of teams really are that desperate to take safeties this high. It's not a strong safety class, not that it's a bad one either, but Elijah Molden, if you go back and watch the first round, the only other safety in these 2 videos that I've taken was Trayvon Moehrig in the first round for Jacksonville. So he's only the second safety off the board. Kansas City gets an edge rusher. Cleveland, I feel like, needs linebackers, even though they might, play more nickel or more, like what's the defense where they only run like 2 linebackers? I forget what it's called. But I feel like Jabril Cox is a good linebacker for them because he's very good in coverage, performed well in the Senior Bowl in terms of batting down passes and defending receivers. They took Christian Barmore in the first round. Las Vegas took Sam Cosmi in the first round, and then Nick Bolton with their second round pick They continue to rebuild the offensive line with Wyatt Davis. Buffalo takes Joseph Osai. It's really hard to figure out what edge rusher to give them, based on the kind of defensive style that they run. And I know they took Epineza last year, but I think Joseph Osai is another guy they can throw into the mix. Green Bay takes Brady Christensen. I didn't want to wait too long to give them help at the offensive line because after the NFC North draft I did in the most recent Weekly North News video, somebody mentioned that I waited too long to get offensive line help for them. I think it was like Robert Hainsey somewhere in like the 5th or 6th round. So I did it early this time. For those of you who haven't seen the first round video, Green Bay got lucky and Caleb Farley fell all the way to them. So that's their 2 picks. Kansas City getting Jevon Holland and corner at 63 is something I think that they probably might address with their secondary. And then Tampa Bay, best player available, because honestly, what the hell do you give these guys? Because they have all of their starters coming back and they don't really need that much. So best player available it is for them, even if it is not a position of need. So that is going to do it. That is the second round for this mock draft. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If there's something that you didn't like, obviously point that out. I think most people will do that without asking. And overall, just let me know what you think. So that's going to do it for this video. I hope to see you in the next one, and have a good one.